Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. Today, we'll find out more about the ACMI 4 program and how it can support SMEs across the country. So we've got Luqman, who will tell us more about this in just a second. Before I hand over to our presenter, I just wanted to remind everyone that today's session will be recorded and shared online at a later time. Today's session will include a 40-minute presentation followed by a Q&A session at the end. So please use our chat function to submit your questions, and we'll make sure that those get answered. I would also like to thank Hexagon, who is the sponsor of today's webinar. They are a global leader in digital reality solutions that make manufacturing smarter. And to find out more about what they do, you can visit their website, hexagonmi.com. Now, without further ado, I will hand over to Luqman, who will lead today's presentation.
Good afternoon, or good morning, actually, everyone. My name is Luqman. I'll explain a little bit more about myself later on the slides. I know it's going to be a bit different, but I've kind of got a pattern how I'm going to do things. So nice to meet everyone today. Hopefully we'll have a good day. Any questions, please feel free to ask me in the chat and I'll get around answering those questions. So the very first slide you can see is a Smart Manufacturing Alliance. What are we? So the Smart Manufacturing Alliance, similar to the STC, if anything, is a body in trying to boost manufacturing within Cambridge and Peterborough. After a couple of studies being done from the Advanced Manufacturing Materials as well as the Cambridge and Peterborough Advanced Materials books, we can see there's a gap here. This gap is where the SMA sits. There's other bodies like SDS, as well as NAME, as well as the Engineering Manufacturing Group on top of England, if anything. So what we're trying to do is we want to get into the sector of agri-food, transportation, energy, electronics, environmental materials. And the geography that we deal with is Cambridge, East Cambridgeshire, Fenland, Huntingdonshire, Peterborough, and South Cambridgeshire. Like I said, what we aim to promote, support, and grow the manufacturing sector across Cambridge and Peterborough. I showed you in the previous slide, there's a map there, there's a little bit of a gap. We're having to, before, having to pull in resources from other bodies, but there's over 3,000 manufacturing groups just within that region alone. So we wanted to build a group in order to try and promote, support, and grow the manufacturing sector across the two areas. Now, ACME, what ACME 4 is. So ACME 4 is a project offshoot from the Smart Manufacturing Alliance, and this is going to be presented by me today. So regarding the agenda of today, we're going to go through what Industry 4 is, what ACME 4 program, what is it, the assessors, the consulting and funding, and the sort of assessment that we use in order to try and grade where a manufacturer is compared to what the best in class looks like, and some proof of our work working, as well as any follow-up questions will be at the end of the presentation. This may not take 45 minutes, but we'll see how we're going to get along. So Industry 4, just a little bit of a history lesson. In the 1800s, the first industrial revolution occurred with water and sea power was used for mechanical production facilities. That was the main driver at that time of era. The second industrial revolution, now we're talking about electricity is now being introduced and mass production, but Toyota was the first company to kind of have that forward thinkingness of why are we working on, let's say, one car, the silent operations working on one framework of a car. Then they decided to put a car frame on a winch and put it down on a conveyor system and have each workers work continuously on the car. So that's when we talk about mass production. The third industrial revolution, now we're talking about automation through IT systems, where we're now getting into some automation, some pneumatics involved with some IT systems collaborated with that. Whilst the fourth industrial revolution is now where we are today, when we're talking about cyber physical systems, IoT, and artificial intelligence. I would say personally, Industry 4 is more of an evolution from what Industry 3 is. I'll put up a little graph here where you can see enterprise, work center, station, control device, field device, and product. All solid operations. If you were to talk about in actual manufacturing, the main transfer of information may occur paper-based work orders, emails of the sort. Whilst you can see with Industry 4, everything is connected. On top, we say connected worlds. That's what we're talking about in Internet of Things, industrial Internet of Things with big data. Smart factory is where we're trying to go towards in terms of all solid operation they may see in Industry 4. It's all fluid, it's all connected. It's all to create a smart product on the bottom. So if you were to take anything away from today, everyone has their own interpretation of what Industry 4 is. For myself, I think it's about connectivity across all hierarchical levels. So ACME 4, what is it? Is it, apart from being a short abbreviation or something? It stands for Advanced Capacity for Manufacturing in Industry 4, where 1.2 million ERDF funded projects, which is supported to design, adoption, and integration of Industry 4 technologies and design principles in manufacturing SMEs. We want to educate SMEs. That's our main goal, to educate SMEs that Industry 4 is not as complicated as one might think, as well as to try and incorporate certain principles within the manufacturing space is not as complicated either. And we go about the program is being delivered by, that's why I decided to put a slide about the Smart Manufacturing Alliance in a partnership with Opportunity Peterborough, so you can see the link between ACME 4 as well as the SMA. So regarding the assessors who will be assessing during the day, you got Jazz. Unfortunately, he's not here today. I just had to put a slide of showing his immense experience within manufacturing. Has over 25 years experience in working in different industries: automotive, aerospace, heavy industries, consumer, Six Sigma, black belt, all the lovely stuff there. I'm not going to speak for him. Next, now I'm going to actually introduce myself. So my name is Luqman, as Galina mentioned nicely earlier. One of the other advisors that will deliver the ACME 4 program. My experience is more towards Industry 4, as I'm explaining it today: robotics, lean operations, Six Sigma, artificial intelligence, and industrial automation. Once leaving uni, I didn't really know what sort of job I wanted to get into. So then I notably worked for a company called RS Components. I was a technical support engineer for 2.5 years. Well, then I had my experience regarding what Industry 4 is, as well as trying to incorporate certain Industry 4 techniques. Example, some condition monitoring systems. Whilst then working for the ACME 4 program, I then had the opportunity to use that experience and to try and help other SMEs out there in incorporating Industry 4 principles and Industry 4 techniques. There's two sides of ACME and how we deliver our support: 12 hours of business support. So this is no cost business support where myself or my colleague Jazz, or both of us, if you have the pleasure of having both of us to come to your site, we would spend the day with your company, would spend the day with the CEO, we'll spend the day with the workshop operators, anyone who you believe may find benefit of this, and would have a discussion where you think you are, what's the burning platform, and how we can go about in order to rectify that issue. After the 12 hours of support, if you had an idea of the project that you had in mind, or at the back or at the end of the support, we might come to a conclusion of what project you may need. We're also able to offer grant funding. So this grant funding, we've got £300,000 capital grant fund, which is 46 just required. Matter required, sorry. Each eligible business is able to have 2,000 to 20,000 support. So what we talk about that is, if your total project cost, and this is a live example, if your total project cost is £50,000, we're able to support you £20,000 on a claims back process. Another example, if your project cost is £5,000, we're able to support you with £2,000, which is claiming back. So you initially spent £3,000. So what we're trying to do with the ACME 4 program, we entail the 12 hours of support as well as a capital grant fund, because with all due respect, what an SME may think they want may not actually be what they need. And this is no cost support to the SME at all. So to have myself and my colleague, or both of us, to just come in and spend the day with you, even to go through the support that you may look and then you may that you're after in terms of capital grant funding, and we may even highlight other opportunities that's there. One may not even cost that much money or completely free, trying to incorporate some lean techniques within your operations. And then we can incorporate some digitalization on top of that. So what I have is a little video in order to kind of explain the Siri process, which is going to take the bulk of our time today. So bear with me.
Manufacturing is in the midst of its next revolution. Industry 4.0, the convergence of the digital and physical worlds, is upon us. To help companies start, scale, and sustain their Industry 4.0 initiatives, we launched the Smart Industry Readiness Index in 2017. Across the 16 dimensions of the index, companies are able to use the assessment matrix to evaluate their facilities.
In recent years, the understanding of Industry 4.0 amongst manufacturers has grown rapidly, but the pace of adoption is lagging. To boost adoption, companies must first prioritize Industry 4.0 areas to focus on.
Therefore, we've established 4 key principles of prioritization. Today's state: understanding the current state of your manufacturing facility. Impact to bottom line: focusing on areas with the greatest impact on your profits. Essential business objectives: identifying areas best positioned to bring success to your strategic goals. References to the broader community: gleaning insights from the best in class.
The tier framework helps to ensure that all critical considerations are assessed, guiding companies to target high-impact areas.
To translate it into practice, we have developed the Prioritization Matrix, a management planning tool that identifies the highest impact index dimensions.
Our research shows that those who succeed holistically tackle business processes, technology architecture, and organization challenges. With this logic, the prioritization matrix helps companies understand where to further diagnose, design, and ultimately implement Industry 4.0 at scale.
The prioritization matrix requires 3 key inputs. First, the assessment matrix score. This helps the tool understand the current state of the facility. Second, the facility's revenue cost profile. This allows the tool to factor in the bottom line impact. And third, the company's key performance indicators to align with their strategic directions. The algorithm references hundreds of case studies to prioritize Industry 4.0 focus areas. Manufacturers can also identify relevant digital levers to implement in their facility.
As a medium-sized enterprise with limited resources, it is especially important that we invest our time and effort in the right areas.
For a company like Infineon that has embarking on Industry 4.0 plans, the prioritization matrix serves as a useful tool to help us review whether our ongoing efforts are in the right direction.
The digitalization of manufacturing presents many exciting growth opportunities for both companies and employees. The Singapore government is keen to partner organizations big and small to benefit from what Industry 4.0 can offer. This is why we have come up with a comprehensive framework to help companies and support them in their transformation journey. We are confident that the prioritization matrix will be a valuable tool to assist manufacturers in Singapore and around the world to not only accelerate the implementation of their Industry 4.0 roadmap, but also to extract the maximum value as they embark on this exciting journey.
So the Smart Industry Readiness Index is what we use in order to evaluate where a company is regarding the industry for maturity. And we look at 3 main building blocks, as you can see here: process, technology, and organization. Below that, there's 8 different pillars: operation, supply chain, product lifecycle in regards to process, automation, connectivity, and intelligence in regarding to technology, and even soft skills, which I believe is most important, which is talent, readiness, structure, and management. Below that, there's 16 different dimensions in which how we evaluate a company on. With this sort of process, if I were to explain to you regarding the day, would sit with the clients, if anything, explain a little bit about what I've done today, a little bit about what Industry 4 is, the history of Industry 4, and all the complicated words that people might use in terms of big data, artificial intelligence. I'll try and explain it in a user-friendly way so then they can take something from the day, because we don't really know some clients of ours may be competent in Industry 4, some may have an idea but don't really understand. So once we go through that, then we create a little value stream map during the day to explain to me the process. One of the main questions is, how is data traveled throughout the manufacturing processes? From when the customer order comes in, how many departments is it going towards, or having to go to, regarding finance, regarding purchasing, regarding planning and scheduling? Then when it does end up going to the shop floor, how is then that information transferred? How is that one job order transferred? Is it by a piece of paper, by Word, or some sort of system in place, all the way to dispatch? So that would deal with the process and technology side of things. Now, regarding organization, the questions I'll be asking around it is, do you have any training programs? If a new employee wanted to work for your company, what sort of learning development curriculum is in place? And now when we're talking about Industry 4 related, are we also educating them regarding what Industry 4 is? How competent of a leader are you? And we're talking about trying to stay as relevant within the market as possible, to do your research, to understand the world today in regards of how can we incorporate the technologies that we may hear within our operation, and inter-company collaboration. So we'll go through 16 different dimensions in regard to process. That's vertical, horizontal, integrated product lifecycle. How connected are we? If you talk about vertical integration within our own manufacturing, horizontal from our suppliers to ourselves as manufacturers to our customers. How connected are we across horizontally on that level? An integrated product lifecycle from design, manufacture, engineering, all the way to customer use and disposable of the item. How connected are we within that entire product lifecycle? When we talk about automation, connectivity, intelligence, we're talking about across the shop floor, enterprise, and the facility as well. With the current climate of today, energy is such a big thing. So we want to understand how automated are we on the shop floor, in which most people believe what Industry 4 actually is. Regarding that automation now, are we connected? Is the machinery all connected up to each other? And if so, regarding the intelligence now, are we using that data to try and continuously improve our manufacturing operations? This is just regarding the shop floor. This also applies on an enterprise level. What sort of systems have we got in place in order to prevent any repetitive production processes? Okay, is those systems all connected? And are we using that data to continuously improve our overall processes? And to maybe find other areas that could be used to improve, as well as the facility as well. So now we're talking about talent readiness and structure management. Like I said earlier, workforce learning and development. What sort of curriculum is in place? Is it just onboard training? Or we're continuously upskilling our operators or even our enterprise leaders within the company? Leadership competency, how competent of a leader are we? Inter-company collaboration and strategy and governance. So before I get into the case studies, actually, during the day, before the actual consultant would ask for some information. As you can see from the video, there's 3 main information that we require from our clients. One is the KPIs. What's the most important KPIs for said client in order to continue to stay relevant within the industry? Next is the company profile. When we talk about company profile, we need a percentage of an annual revenue going towards certain sectors. What we're talking about: waste, we're talking about labor, we're talking about raw materials, we're talking about energy, utilities, lease. So we know where most of the financial cost is going towards. And coupled with our banding score, in which I'm going to explain later what the banding score is, for each of these dimensions, there's band 0 to band 5. So band 0 is undefined, while band 5 is fully integrated. No one's ever hit band 5 unless we're talking about the soft skills side of things. All of this information will then allow us to find our prioritized dimension. What I mean by prioritized dimension, as you can see the 16 different dimensions. We typically recommend 1 from process, 1 from technology, and 1 for organization. But we'll also pick 1 more, which may be the most important or pertinent for said client. And then once our handy tool picks the 4 prioritized dimensions, these dimensions is going to be the one that's going to be most cost effective and will see the most financial return for the company. then we'll come up with solutions on top of that. So with some case studies, I'm going to show you two, one in terms of the grant funding and another one in terms of the actual assessment day. So as I explained, we try and entail both the grant funding as well as the no-cost consultation. So at the start, myself and my colleague Jazz spent the day with Nan Barista. They are a company based in Cambridge, in which they produce coffee, if anything. But then the client at the time was a PhD student and decided to be innovative in how he actually tried to produce this coffee. So during the day, we found out that they had strong shop floor connectivity and an understanding of connected technologies. So they already are aware of what energy shop floor is, and they incorporated that within the facility. But where we saw improvements was to vertical and horizontal integration, and improved performance with the move from batch production to one piece flow production. So they made a start. They made a very good start in how to incorporate certain techniques and certain technologies within the shop floor, but that was just on the shop floor. How integrated are they on enterprise to see what's going on the shop floor? Alongside that, with their suppliers as well, are they able to incorporate their suppliers' technologies within their shop floor, within their systems as well? Because one of the biggest problems that our clients always face is we're trying to go 5 or 6 steps ahead of our suppliers. But unfortunately, our suppliers are still not trying to be as innovative as possible. Unfortunately, that cannot be the case. They have to be as well. As much as you are customers to them, they're also customers to you. At the back of our assessment, we're able to offer them £11,500 towards new technology within the shop floor in order to establish that one-piece flow. So in our report, we recommend lean opportunities as well as some Six Sigma, as well as some manufacturing process opportunities. And then on the other side, we talk about the SERI assessment. So that one-piece flow was at the back of myself and my colleague Jazz spending the day with them to understand that they had a good workspace and there was an opportunity to make that as streamlined as possible. This is not even in thinking about the SERI assessment. Whilst within the SERI assessment, you could see we mentioned about the improved vertical and horizontal integration. And this is just a statement from the managing director there saying it was very infectious and really fired up as a result of their visit and stuff. So another one is Senai. We're now going towards the grant funding side of things with them, but this is just another case study in which we understood there was strong enterprise automation and connectivity, and was trying to encourage the team to try and digitize the supply chain and internal processes before digitizing production. This will enable more accurate ordering, streamline communication between departments and companies, and improve customer service. So we educate them the benefits of having that digitized supply chain, which will allow the customer experience to improve. When the customer experience improves, that will generate more business for them, as well as to have the more streamlined communication between departments and companies. As you can see from Matthew Stevenson, Senai is open to new ideas, and it's been a pleasure to work with Jazz and Luqman for the consultancy. The ACME process showed organizational knowledge levels and advanced tailored to our manufacturing systems. And that is it from me. If there's any questions, please feel free to ask me. If there's any further explanation that you require regarding ACME as a SMA, please feel free, even regarding Siri or how we kind of go about during the day. Yeah, I'm open for any questions now.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Luqman. So ACME 4, now I know how to pronounce that. We do have a couple of questions for you, and we'll give people the opportunity to raise a few more in the chat. Okay. First question is, in your opinion, what do manufacturers need to do to stay as relevant and competitive in the market? So
with the experience that I've had, as well as going to certain events and having that communication with suppliers, early last week I went to the Advanced Engineering Expo within NEC, just to have that conversation with certain suppliers, with certain manufacturers there. The main thing is to try and standardize your operation. What I mean by that is not to try and rely on individual experience and expertise in order to continually try and drive the business forward. Once you establish a standardized work, standardized operation, then try and create a value stream map. When we say value stream map, look at your operations. Don't go in that much detail when speaking to the clients in how many operators are here, how long does it take, what's your burning platform. I just create a pseudo value stream map just so I have an idea of which process takes the most time. With that being said, if you can get some external consultation, maybe the Acme 4 boys, we could then come and spend a day with you in your company to understand, okay, you may need 1, 2, 3 different systems with this sort of machinery. And even at the top of that, educate you in what Industry 4 technologies are out there so you can make that decision yourself. So if I were just to, I know I just babbled on there, if I were just to round up everything that I said, within your manufacturing process, create a standard. When we're creating a standard, everyone has to follow by that standard. So there's always going to be that replicability and the same quality and efficiency throughout, no matter what day it is. Once you create that standard works within your operations, then have a look at your operation on a helicopter view to understand what process takes the most time. Once you establish that and you're trying to pick a pilot area, potentially trying to streamline that, then see what's possible grant funding that out there regarding, if you talk about Industry 4 related, Acme 4 is here, but Growth Hub are there, Innovate Ed UK are there, in order to try and take in the knowledge and experience of, let's say, an external consultant to try and continue to drive out your business forward. Then you can make little steps there. We know, because we're not trying to get there tomorrow. It's a marathon, not a sprint. It's going to take some time, but as long as you've got that thought to making those strides, that's what we're looking for, and that's what we're trying to instill in the clients that we're dealing with as well.
Thank you. We do have another question that's just come in. How easy is it for SMEs to invest in Industry 4.0 in terms of short-term investment for medium to long-term gain? Are there any government incentives or initiatives to assist with this?
Great question, actually. Regarding investing in Industry 4.0, you have to look at your operations in terms of what's holding you back, if anything. It's very easy. It really is. The biggest problem, I'd say, is the culture shift. You might have certain operators, the younger operators may understand of the benefits of having an easier system in order to drive away from paper-based work instructions or paper-based systems, or going someone to walk down to pass the information to find out where it is. The older generation, they tend to just want to go into during the day, do what they need to do and go home. But we're trying to instill that education piece and to understand this benefits all. So to answer your question, it is very easy in order to try and incorporate the Industry 4 techniques. I would always look long term. Short term is nice and easy, but long term is what's going to drive the business and try and keep the business as relevant as possible. Regarding government incentives, like I said, Acme 4 were able to help introduce some Industry 4 we're able to sponsor some Industry 4 machinery or any software technology that you're after. As well as what's there today, there's Innovate Ed UK, in which if you've got any innovation software, or if you're trying to break into the market with certain products that you're selling, they're able to help. As well as Growth Hub are able to help. Made Smarter are able to help. STC potentially are able to help put you in line with any other government incentives that's out there. So there is a lot out there. It's just trying to find one that suits you, to understand what's the most pertinent within your operations, and 3, maybe potentially seek help in a consultancy base to understand what you currently got going on and what's most important for yourself in order to try and drive the business forward.
Brilliant, thank you. We've got another question. Is the grant only applicable for SMEs in Cambridge and Peterborough or nationally?
So with Acme 4, even though the Smart Manufacturing Alliance were based in Cambridge and Peterborough, Acme 4 you can access the grant nationally, which is great for SMEs. A pain for me for having to drive everywhere. But yeah, Acme 4 were able to provide no cost consultation. Only a couple of days ago I was in Bristol, and then tomorrow probably potentially going Grimsby. So we're able to support everyone nationally, only within England, as well as you're able to take in the grant funding and support you nationally also.
Brilliant. That leads me nicely into the next question. What does the assessment day entail? Can you talk us through that?
Not a problem. So as I explained earlier, we typically ask for information before the assessment day. And as that information is the main KPIs for your company, which would send a list of KPIs, as well as the percentage of your average revenue towards certain costs. Like I said earlier, in terms of raw materials, labor, any R&D that you're having to cost towards. This is all going to play into prioritizing the dimensions which explained in a previous video. Then during the day, we try and split up the day into the one is the education of what Industry 4 is, a moment for the client to explain to us the main challenges and opportunities that they're facing or they're after, the expectation of us during the day, because it's always nice to hear what they expect of the boys when they come or we travel that way to see them. And just us to kind of touch base for them to know who we are and for us to know who they are. Then the second day is when I'm creating that value stream map. So I ask the question, how is data traveled throughout the business? But when that customer order comes in, how many different departments is it going towards in the enterprise area? So in the top floor, when it goes to the shop floor, how's the information transferred to dispatch? Then I was typically ask them, walk me through the process. This will allow me to have the opportunity to talk to the operators included within this process. So I would talk into the enterprise leader, say, okay, why are you doing this this way? What's the main challenges you find within your remit, if anything? Then when I'm walking through the shop floor, I may take some photos in order to try and incorporate some lean opportunities, as well as typical techniques that could make it cleaner, tidy, to create a standardized works that I mentioned earlier in your first question. What's the main process in what the SMEs should go after? Once we're walking on the factory floor, taking photos, speaking to operators, then we do the banding scoring across the 16 different dimensions. This is a bit different. So today I'm treating this as a lecture for everyone, but during the day is more of a discussion. We'll have the banding score, we have the meaning of each of those bandings, and with the dimensions as well. And they convince us where they think they sit within across those 16 different dimensions. So we're talking about vertical integration, band 2, horizontal integration, band 1, shop floor connectivity, band 3. It's easier for a discussion to be had than for myself to tell them you sit in band 1. We're trying to get that culture shift for them to understand, okay, we've incorporated this technology, but actually we've not even done the basics here. So having that discussion piece is pertinent, and I think is very important for the clients to kind of understand and for them to buy in more of the work we're trying to do. By that time, they already forgot about the grant funding, because then when they're looking forward for the report out, then advise them, oh, okay, turns out that there is some grant funding opportunity for yourself, and they're able to draw upon that from us. So that's what the day kind of looks like, if anything.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. We've got another question that's just come in.
No worries.
How do you overcome the issues of fear around change, breaking out from the status quo to challenge efficiency and productivity? Do you focus on facts and stats within the client's industry?
So facts and stats is the main, great question again. So facts and stats is the main driver, I believe, for the management to try and see how we're going to challenge efficiency and productivity. Unfortunately, I would say certain operators may not care about that. They want to just have an easier life, so to speak. So in terms of overcoming that fear, what we typically do, we pick a pilot area, whether it's on an enterprise or on a shop floor, because there's no difference. Everyone is still as critical to the overall manufacturing processes as possible. So I'll pick a pilot area. And when I'm creating a value stream map, I have an idea where the critical area from the enterprise and the shop floor is. Once we do that walk, I will then talk to the operators within that burning platform, which I have an idea of. When I'm having that conversation with them, I then ask them, okay, what do you do? How long you been working for the company for? Do you think that there's any changes that's required? That's why I'm challenging them a little bit, because at the end of the day, no one really likes auditors. So I'll try to have that conversation with them instead. And then when they explain to me their day to day, then I give them some suggestions. Let's say, for example, even I'll give you a live example. I met with the client last week. He's having to walk around to find products in order to complete his part of the overall process. So let's say if we're talking about chamfering or even polishing, he's having to go find the tools needed in order to complete what he needs to do. So I kind of asked him a question. If, for example, if you already knew what job you had coming up and there was some sort of kitting process, what I mean by kitting process is all the products or all the tools that you need for that job is already on the table, ready for you to do your work. Would that make your life easier? They think about it. They think about it. Yeah, I think it would. Great. So now I've instilled the idea of, I'm not telling you it's going to be easier. I want you to understand why it's going to be easier. So trying to incorporate, so that fear is now slightly turned into some sort of inquisitive from the operator that had that question. Later on, I got an email from the CEO saying, you know, that person that you spoke to? Was like, yeah. Turns out that he's actually he was probably the biggest pain, being candid, in trying to incorporate certain techniques and changes. But now he wants to continuously do it because you kind of drop that seed of efficiency, seed of what Industry 4 is to him, and now he understands the benefits of what that is. So to answer your question, I'll pick a pilot area. Within that pilot area, whether it's on an enterprise or on a shop floor, try your best in order to streamline that process whilst incorporating the operators within that process as well. Because we're not trying to say this is going to work. No, we're trying to test and see why it's going to work for them to understand the benefits of it working. Once this area is nice, clean, as streamlined as possible, then you can see other areas within the business that can also incorporate that. And we're talking about facts and stats. That will be enough of a factual reason as to why operators may go towards it, because they can see it. Regarding the stats, like I said, that's more for the management basis in terms of, turns out we only got 80% efficiency, we want to get 90%, but no one really cares about that. If they're just going to work on a Monday to Friday, what they care about is for them to see the benefits of that. Naturally, you're going to get an increase in productivity and efficiency if you're to incorporate any sort of lean techniques on a shop floor or an enterprise. That's fine. To get that change management and to get that buy-in from the operators, you need to show them and need to include them within the process of trying to continuously improve as well. Hopefully that answers your question. I'm not sure if it does, but I think it does.
I think we've had a positive response, so I think you've done really well. Thank you. Yeah. I've got another question for you. Could you talk us through the process and turnaround time to get the grant funding approved?
Not a problem. So with the biggest drawback, I say, the biggest time waster, I would say, is the client collect all of the information in. So with the sort of information that we're after is free quotations in order to satisfy the European Regional Development Fund. We require free quotations to fill in the grant application form, as well as what we'd like to ask is a user reason requirement specification. Do you actually know what you're buying, and do you actually know the benefits that could bring? Once we have all that information, the turnaround on our side is probably a week, 2 weeks, where we're trying to schedule a meeting with all our board members to basically go through the application, to tick, with the help of us, as well as the advisor that might spend the day with you. We're able to reassure the board members, myself spend a day with said company. Turns out this is the most important, and they're very forward thinking. They're still trying to stay as relevant as possible. They typically say, oh, Luqman, you went there. Okay, yeah, that's fine. They take it off, and then we're able to begin the process. We ask to not try and buy the product, buy the software machinery until it's approved on our end. So until we said yes, buy the product, then you're able to claim back the money through us. So as a whole, from our end, it may take a week, 2 weeks. It just depends on how quick you can collate all the information and supply that to us in order for us to complete the application form.
That's great, thank you. One more question on our part. When does the program or project end?
So unfortunately, we're coming out the EU. I'm not too sure if that's new news to everyone. The project will end June 2023 next year. Well, we're trying to help give money away as much as possible before then. So by May 2023, we want to try our best in order to support as many businesses as possible, to try even on a consultative basis as well as a crowdfunding. But to answer your question, we're done by June 2023 next year.
Thank you very much. That's a date for everyone to add to their diary.
No problem.
I think that covers all of the questions we've had for you today. Thank you very much for your time. It's been a very insightful presentation, and I'm sure lots of our attendees will have a lot to take with them after the session. I want to thank all of you for joining us today and for sharing this webinar with us. Before you go, could I please ask all of you to complete our poll? Your feedback is always very useful for us and very important, so please take a minute before you go. And finally, if you want to find out more about the upcoming events and webinars we've got coming up, please visit our website. Thank you, everyone.
I've got one thing to say. Sorry to
yeah, of course, go for it.
If you're trying to, I forgot to add an aside. If you wanted to access the ACME 4 program, we've got a website called the Smart Manufacturing Alliance. Feel free to access that website in order to try and access the grant, the consultancy, or even the crowdfunding. Galina will also be sure to try and send up my emails out to people. If there's any questions that you might have regarding, let's say, Industry 4, the ACME 4, the Smart Manufacturing Alliance, please feel free to email me, pop an email across. And yeah, thank you very much for today. I appreciate the invite. I enjoyed it. That's a good engagement for everyone.
Thank you.